Since about midway through the college season, it was always the assumption that Cade Cunningham would go number 1 in the draft and Evan Mobley would go number 2. But in the days since the NBA draft lottery, things have started to change. So in this video, we're going to look at how the Raptors can still get Evan Mobley with the 4th overall pick in the entry draft. Let's get into it. Welcome NBA and Raptors fans to Amateur Hour Sports. This is a channel where you get NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors at least 4 days a week. That is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Today is your Saturday episode where we're talking about Evan Mobley, not a draft profile, but how Evan Mobley can slip down the cracks and fall to the Raptors in the 4th overall pick position. So if you like what you see from today's video, you want more of myself talking about the NBA and the Raptors in videos and content just like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below to show your support to the channel. We're getting very close to 4,000 subscribers. We'll be there very soon, and you can help us get there by subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification bell to stay up to date with the content. But let's get down to business with our topic for today. And again, not a draft profile, but we're going to break down how Evan Mobley can legitimately fall to 4th overall in the upcoming NBA entry draft and how the Raptors can snap him up. Well, you know, we were thinking probably a few months ago, we were all thinking like, okay, if we somehow land in that 2nd pick, we have to take Evan Mobley with that position. But opinions have started to divide a little bit, and people are starting to see that maybe Evan Mobley isn't the best player to take in the top 4 outside of Cade Cunningham. Maybe you really ought to look at Jalen Green and Jalen Suggs for these positions, and after the draft lottery, we can really gauge what each team in each position needs, and whether or not they need a guard, a shooting guard, or a center / power forward in Evan Mobley. So what we're going to do in this video is going to break down each team ahead of the Raptors. That's the Pistons, that's the Rockets, that's the Cavaliers, assess what they need and why they should or should not take Evan Mobley, and how he could end up in the lap of the Toronto Raptors. So let's start with the Detroit Pistons. And Detroit have started to kind of allude to in reports that maybe Cade Cunningham isn't a lock for number 1, and maybe that they're going to look elsewhere. It's not a definitive number 1, and that's nothing. That is absolutely nothing. I think Detroit is just kind of keeping the speculation alive, and they're just not trying to throw all their marbles in the same basket. They just want to kind of look at some other players, but bank on Cade Cunningham going number 1. Like bank on with serious confident Cade Cunningham going number 1 in this draft. I can't see any other way around this. Cade Cunningham's going number 1, so we don't really need to talk about the Detroit Pistons. Not that they would need Evan Mobley, not that they would go for Jalen Green or Jalen Suggs over Cade Cunningham. So Cade Cunningham is going to be the number 1 overall pick. Wipe your hands clean. That one is over. Now the 2nd overall pick is where it gets really interesting, because again, you talk about this a few months ago. You talk about whoever gets there. Evan Mobley is going 2nd overall in the draft. And if you talk about talent, you always go for talent over the fit when you're this early in the draft. And that's all people have been telling me the last couple of weeks as I talk about this entry draft speculation, who the Raptors should get, what the Raptors should take in each position, like what positions should we look for in the draft. Everybody telling me best player available. Doesn't matter. Don't worry about position. It works itself out. And that's correct to a degree, but it's not 100% correct. You do need to factor in the position, because why would you go after, I'd say for the Raptors, a power forward when you already have Pascal Siakam, who is just a year removed of being on an all-NBA 2nd team? What is the point of getting a small forward when you want OG Anunoby to be that small forward of the future? I think if you're this high up in the draft, you need to take somebody who's actually going to slot into a starting lineup for your team in the next 1 to 2 seasons, or else it doesn't really make sense to draft the guy. It's only going to hinder his development by keeping him on the bench and get the minutes behind the people who are already starting. And the reason I bring this up now is because the Houston Rockets are kind of in this situation, because in theory, Evan Mobley is the 2nd best player in the draft. He's a 7-foot center who had a late growth spurt, so he kept a lot of that ball handling ability. It's very similar to the Anthony Davis situation, how he was 6 feet tall, became, you know, very adept at ball handling as a guard, then all of a sudden in the space of I think 1 or 2 years near the start of college grew to 6'11". So now, well, we got to play him down low, but he still maintained all those ball handling abilities, which offered him such a unique skill set. Evan Mobley kind of shares these sort of traits that Anthony Davis has in terms of his ball handling ability, and even though he's tall, he still maintained that. But Evan Mobley didn't really get wide in terms of his height. He's a very lanky individual. He's got that Kevin Durant body type. I kind of call him KD without a jump shot, because he's got those handles, he's got the dribbles, he's got the ability on the inside. But he doesn't really have that jump shot per se. But for the Houston Rockets, they've got Christian Wood. do they really need a big for their team? When it comes to guards for their team, they have John Wall, you talk about Kevin Porter Jr., but there's not a lot of definitive guards there, and Houston are probably going to be looking towards buying out John Wall, and that is especially the case if they go and draft Suggs or maybe Jalen Green in this position. Now, I think for the Houston Rockets here, Jalen Green doesn't quite fit the team because, again, there is Kevin Porter Jr. there, who I think that they will want to rely on for a good amount of time. So I don't think that Jalen Green is the right guy here, but Jalen Suggs could be the guy for a rebuild in Houston. Houston could be looking like, okay, let's rebuild this team. Let's start fresh. Jalen Suggs, the leader, tenacious leader. He's got the charisma. He's got the desire, the heart, and he's got the playmaking to really build around. This could be the guy for us at second overall. Now, all of a sudden, Evan Mobley slips to third because, well, we've got Christian Wood in Houston, so why not go for a guard to build around? And you're probably not going to go for a shooting guard. Then you can go to the Cleveland Cavaliers because let's say Houston don't want another big. I mean, they can obviously move Christian Wood, but I think his contract is quite good. I would personally keep Christian Wood, and if I'm Houston, I'm strongly considering going for Suggs here. Now let's move to the Cleveland Cavaliers. They've got Colin Sexton, they've got Darius Garland, they've got Isaac Okoro, they've got a bunch of guards, but they've also got Jarrett Allen. And now Jarrett Allen is a peculiar case because Jarrett Allen, he's an RFA now, and he's probably going to be asking for, I'd say, between 80 to 100 million. I would probably guess he's going to ask for closer to 100 in restricted free agency, and he's probably going to get near 100. So they've got to pay Jarrett Allen if they want him to stay on the Cavaliers beyond this season. So, if in my opinion, if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers and you can keep Jarrett Allen, that's your big for the future, I'm absolutely doing it. Where I would make the difference is I would explore trading Colin Sexton. And I think that the Cleveland Cavaliers, there's been reports about it, Cleveland is probably looking towards trading him because they don't want to have to pay him when that contract expires. They don't want to have to give Colin Sexton what he's going to be asking for, which I think is a max or a near max. I would equate his situation to the John Collins situation. Colin Sexton for me is not really worth that max contract, but I feel like a team is going to do it just so they can snap up the player and have them on their roster. Cleveland really needs to be looking at a possible trade destination for Colin Sexton, which leaves a guard position open. You can move Darius Garland to the point guard position, and then you could slot in perfectly Jalen Green into the shooting guard position, who would be a great player for Cleveland. I think that's a type of player that they could thrive off. Colin Sexton with a really big individual type player, and I think Jalen Green is as well, but Sexton provided a bit of a net negative. Like when he's on the court, Sexton, the Cleveland Cavaliers did deteriorate. They did get a little bit worse. So I think that they should absolutely explore trading him, and I would look for my guard for the future here because you've already got your big for the future in Jarrett Allen. I wouldn't tamper with that. So now all of a sudden, we move to the 4th overall pick where we have the Toronto Raptors. And the Raptors, I would say, are missing a guard and a center. I think that we are in big need of another guard. I would like a better guard than Gary Trent Jr. to be starting to play alongside Fred VanVleet. That could be Kyle Lowry as well. So if we go for Mobely, we can also just keep Kyle Lowry. But I am okay to move on from Lowry if it means drafting Jalen Green or Jalen Suggs. Now, if you watched yesterday's video, I'm very, very high on Jalen Suggs, and I want this guy on my team a lot. I think he's a perfect fit for the Raptors. I would recommend checking that video out. Last week, we did a full breakdown of Jalen Green. Now, this isn't a full breakdown of Evan Mobley here, but I will say he would provide a lot of great things for the Raptors, and you guys have been saying, the overwhelming majority of you say that the Raptors should look for a center in this upcoming draft. I don't necessarily agree with that, and most of you, but it's still very close, very tight, say that Evan Mobley is the player you want to fall to for the most. So I think there is a good chance that you guys get your wish. I don't think that Cleveland will take Evan Mobley if he goes to 3, but I think the Raptors will absolutely laugh it up if Evan Mobley falls down to the 4th overall pick. There is maybe some question marks about his body type in terms of his injury. However, no injuries in the past have really showcased that. You should be worried about his injuries, and he does have the shooting stroke to be able to spread the floor. I would worry about his strength and his size, but we are going to do a full breakdown of Evan Mobley in the very near future. It could be the Monday video, actually. So stay tuned for a full Evan Mobley draft breakdown. But when it comes to Evan Mobley falling to 4, that is not going to be a problem. The Raptors have really been lacking a true center since Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol left. We went a full season. We're really playing without one. Kem Birch stepped in and provided some good minutes, but I think we can do better than Kem Birch in terms of a starting center. Wouldn't mind Kem Birch coming up the bench, but as in terms of a starting center, we need better. And I think that there's some in the free agent market, but there's not a ton. Rashawn Holmes is a name that comes to mind. However, he's going to be a little bit expensive to get. So if Evan Mobley falls, that is a good player to pick up. You still keep Kyle Lowry, and you still keep Gary Trent, I think. You go over the cap to sign Kyle Lowry. Gary Trent's going to be asking for somewhere around $15 to $16 million. That's a pretty good contract to me. This team would be set. However, I am really starting to feel like the best thing for the Raptors is to take Suggs or Green. So I do want Mobley to be gone at this point. This is where I'm starting to trend towards. Because I think that the best teams in the league do not build around a center. And if they do, if you have your best player as that center, you need to stack him with great players around him. Denver is a team that's a little bit unique because they have Jokic, and they need to build a great team around him, and honestly, they kind of did. Just Jamal Murray went down. It would have been nice to see how far they could have gone, but you know, the jury's still out on that one. I haven't seen in the last decade or so any team thrive around their center being their best player on the team. The NBA doesn't revolve around centers like it used to. 20 years ago, there was no doubt Evan Mobley is going first overall. That is your big for the future. But that's not necessarily the case anymore in the NBA. Guards and wings win you championships. So I think that building around somebody like Jalen Suggs or Jalen Green is more worthwhile for this franchise. And I think that I'm trending towards liking Green and liking Suggs more than Evan Mobley. Not that I would be upset about taking Evan Mobley. I mean, 3 months ago, could you imagine saying the Raptors would get 4th overall pick and actually have a chance of drafting Evan Mobley? You'd laugh it off. Evan Mobley this entire time has been, okay, this guy is going second. And I don't think Cleveland are going to work it out to get him. I think Houston might just work out a system to bring in Evan Mobley, trading Christian Wood. But I'm not so sure that that's the best thing for the franchise. I think that Suggs might be the best guy for Houston. And I think that Green would be the best guy for Cleveland, which would leave Evan Mobley falling to us. Now, this is not a huge indictment on Evan Mobley. He is a phenomenal player, and he would be great on the Raptors. Just my preference sits with one of the Jalen's coming in instead. However, this is a very good problem to have. And we're going to end on this. This is a very good problem to have. You're fighting over which player to draft, but all three are fantastic and would fit very well with the Raptors. They can slot any of these 3 players into a starting lineup for next season. It's not like there's a small forward or power forward on the board that we can't really take because we've already got OG and Siakam. These are all players that can have that immediate impact on this franchise. And if Evan Mobley falls to 4, that's fine. If Suggs falls to 4, that's fine. And if Green falls to 4, that is probably best case scenario in my opinion. So regardless of who we get, we're getting a great player, but this is my opinion. The opinion I value the most is the one of Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster. Whoever those 2 want to bring into this team, I'm going to have full support of them. And if they choose whichever one, if they maybe want to move up to make sure they get specific ones, then I'm all for it. They know best when it comes to draft. They tried to trade into a draft to acquire Giannis. They tried to trade into a draft to acquire Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They know where the best prospects lie. They know how to get the best prospects, not only talent-wise, but to fit in with this team as well. And I think they are going to continue to do that with this one. Even if Evan Mobley falls to number 4, that could be the plan all along. So do you think Evan Mobley has a big chance of falling to 4th overall? I want to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, because that is it from me for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you are still here, be sure to hit that like button. If you did enjoy the video at any point, really goes a long way to helping us reach some new viewers with that YouTube algorithm. Also shows me you made it to the end of the video. Don't forget to check out our Twitch, twitch.tv/amateurhoursports. We watched on a ton of NBA playoff games, and we're going to watch along the Clippers Suns tonight, 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Link is in the description. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. We're getting very close to 4,000 subscribers. You can help us get there. Check out some other videos by the channel that you may enjoy, and always remember, at the end of the day, I believe what I say, and if you disagree, that is okay. Enjoy the grind, and I'll see you again next time for another video.